So I'm going to read from Genesis chapter 14. Those folks who have been resident through this week, I've been looking at Abraham, just taking a chapter a day, chapter 12, Tuesday, 13 yesterday. The call of Abraham, as we know, called to go to leave his land, leave his household, a challenge to experience something new of God. And he's the father of our faith, isn't he? And just as he was encouraged to come into something new in God, so are we. So are we, if we have the same faith of Abraham, if we're trusting in him. And he was called to not only be blessed by God, but to be a blessing to the world. And that's the same with us, isn't it? He wants to bless each one of us so that we can be a blessing to those around us. And we read also that frequently when he met with the Lord, he seemed to be by a tree, a tree. And in this chapter, there's also going to be a tree. I'll explain a bit more later. But I'll say it's like the tree of life. It's like communion with God. And in chapter 13, he was very graciously, he was with Lot and his herdsmen, and Lot's herdsmen quarreled. And he was gracious. He let Lot go. If you choose the right, I'll go to the left. You choose the left, I'll go to the right. He's kind of gracious. The quarrel, the dispute, the struggle he had with life, he let it go into the Lord's hand and trusted him. And what happened? He found himself by a tree, the Lord speaking to him. It's a kind of a symbol of rest, of life, of the Lord being with him. And he wasn't always perfect, as we know. He blew it. Even in chapter 13, he went into Egypt and said to his wife, say you're my sister because you're too beautiful and something will happen to me. So not a great, not exactly a man of faith and power for the hour in that moment. So the Lord calls us on a journey, doesn't he? A pilgrimage, really, to be blessed, to be a blessing. But we are frail, aren't we? We are the stuff of fragility, and we fail, just like Abraham did, and he's full of it as well. But you can see him growing in his faith journey, and even through his failures, he comes back to the altar, to that kind of place where he met with God, and he goes again. It's really, really a fascinating story. And it reflects so much our story. But chapter 14 is a better moment for Abraham. He had several not very good moments, as I've just alluded to. This is a better moment, but it's a battle. Don't know if you have. Of course, you found yourselves in battles, haven't you? Maybe some of you are going through that now. But this is Abraham, man of faith, on a journey of faith, a pilgrimage of faith, but in a battle. So I'm going to read it now. And the folks on the, Esther and Christy and others on the desk, sometimes are askance at the length of reading that I seek to put in. But sometimes it's love a little bit more than a few verses because it gives the context of what's happening. So forgive me. And to take an extra minute or two to read a little bit more of the Word of God. Anything wrong with that? Anyone complaining? Good. Okay, so there's lots of names. Don't worry about the names. I might whistle through those a little bit. But at this time, right, there was Raphael, king of Shinar. So he was kind of from Babylonian, from the north, and all these folks were from the north. There was another king called Arioch, king of Eleazar, Kedalomor, don't know how you pronounce that, king of Elam, Tidal, king of Golim. And there's 4 kings, basically, 4 kings. Went to war against 5 kings: Bera, king of Sodom; Birsha, king of Gomorrah; Shinab, king of Shememba, king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, that is Zor. All these latter kings joined forces in the valley of Siddim, the Salt Sea, right? So there's kind of just battles going on all the time. The kings from the north, they were kind of ruthless. There was kind of power was the issue. Kings of Sodom and Gomorrah, we know that they were kings that there was no right or wrong, there's immorality, there was oppression of the unjust. So not a very good mixture of cities and kingdoms, but they were fighting it out. And so all these latter kings joined forces. I read that. Verse 4, for 12 years that these 5 kings had been subject to Kedorlaomer. In the 13th year they rebelled. So, heats up now. And in the 14th year, Kedorlaomer and the kings allied with him went out, and so they invaded the land of Canaan. They defeated all these people: Rephaites, Zorites, Emites, Horites, And in verse 7, then they turned back, went on to En-Mishpat, and they conquered the whole territory of the Amalekites and as well as the Amorites. So they just kind of invaded and used their power and made all these peoples subservient, about 6 different kinds of peoples. All right, so can you get the picture? Kind of growing confusion and chaos and strife. And verse 8, so the 5 kings of Sodom and Gomorrah had enough, and they really tried to stand up. Then the king of Sodom, the king of Gomorrah, king of Admah, king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela marched out and drew up their battle lines in the valley of Siddim against Kedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, and Golim. The Bible loves to just to emphasize what's going on. 4 kings against 5, end of verse 9. Now the valley of Siddim was full of tar pits, and when the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, some of the men fell into them, and the rest fled to the hills, so they lost. And the 4 kings seized all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their food, and then they went away. This is absolute anarchy. But in the midst of this kind of all this stuff going on, they also carried off Abraham's nephew Lot and his possessions. So he was caught up, man of faith, caught up in all this strife since he was living in Sodom. Verse 13, one who had escaped came, reported this to Abraham, the Hebrew. Now Abraham was living near the great trees of Mamre, the Amorite, a brother of Eshel and Abner, all of whom were allied with Abraham. And when Abraham heard that his relative had been taken captive, he called out the 318 trained men born in his household and went in pursuit as far as Dan. So that's about 100 miles further north. During the night, Abraham divided his men to attack them, and he routed them, pursuing them as far as Hobah, north of Damascus. That's another 50 miles. He recovered all the goods and brought back his relative Lot and his possessions, together with the women and the other people. So great victory. This is the stuff of a film, really. Anyone got the resources to make a film? After Abraham returned, after defeating Kedorlaomer and the kings allied with him, the king of Sodom came out to meet him in the valley of Shaveh, that is, the king's valley. But someone else mysterious came, Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. Ring any bells anywhere? He was priest of the God Most High, and he blessed Abraham, saying, "Blessed be Abraham by God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, and blessed be God Most High, who delivered you, your enemies, into your hand." Then Abraham gave him 1/10 of everything. Something holy is going on there, which we'll explore just a minute. But then the very sneaky king of Sodom said to Abraham, "Give me the people, but keep the goods for yourself." And Abraham said to the king of Sodom, "I've raised my hand to the Lord God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, and I've taken an oath that I will accept nothing belonging to you, not even a thread or the thong of a sandal, so that you will never be able to say, 'I made Abraham rich.' I accept nothing but what my men have eaten and the share that belongs to the men who went with me. Let them have their share." Okay? What do you reckon? This is wonderful reading. So, as I was saying at the beginning, there were 4 kings from the north, and they were ruthless, and power was the issue. Just wanted to control all the peoples around them. And the 5 kings involved in all other kinds of issues as well, with no morals, no right or wrong. Anything went, and they could oppress anyone they wanted. And as G.K. Chesterton said, if we have nothing outside of ourselves, we turn into ourselves. And what happens? We end up submitting and following who is the strongest. You know, if we've got no foundations, no right and wrong, we end up just swayed by who is stronger, who is mightier, who just has the physical force. And I don't know about you, it just seems that's the history of our world, isn't it? That's what happened in Nazi Germany. That's what happened in Soviet communism. Just no rights, no wrongs. No one has any value, you know, and so they could do what they want with power. And it's still happening. You know, there's still dictators around the world. Don't know, seems like what's happening in Russia and Ukraine, you know, just might, just the force of it, that just brute force, doing what they want. And maybe often our kind of business corporations is the same thing, you know, just doing what they want, and it ends up oppressing and hurting people of all description And might then is the one that often prevails. And so there's a battle, and brute force seems to win in this case. But there's a man of faith in the middle. You know, there's all this pressure from the north, the pressure from this other group of armies on the east. In the middle, there's a man of faith who has been called by God, and God has a plan for him. You know, I'm going to bless you, and you're going to be a blessing for others. And I call you to come with me and make this journey of faith. And yes, the man of faith made mistakes, as I said earlier, but often we find him building an altar and saying, well, I worship the only true God. And he called on the name of the Lord, as it says in other parts. But he was caught up in the middle. And even so, even to the extent that they took away something very precious to him, which was Lot, his nephew. So I don't know about you. Do you feel kind of squeezed in by the pressures of our society and culture, or pressure from here, pressure from that the other side, and sometimes we risk losing what's precious, even our loved ones. If you think of our culture wars, what we're going through as a society, it's desperate at times, isn't it? And we think, is something a bit very precious being taken away? Do our loved ones often, they're kind of submerged into these kind of the culture wars that is raging around us, and they seem to be lost to it in so many ways. And maybe this pressure, we risk losing something precious to us, which is our faith itself. Yeah, it's quite a battle going on, isn't it? Do you feel it? Do you know it? I'm sure you do. We're all going through it. And even Colleen pointed out in these last few days, there's a member of parliament in Finland. Have you heard of her situation? Päivi Räsänen, forgive the pronunciation. She has stood up. She's interior. There is an interior minister in the government of Finland, and she stood up, quoting verses from the Bible and expressing what she believed. And she's in court for hate speech, just because she expressed with love what she believes. And so it's a fight for freedom of speech and religion. And so this day, 31st of August, there's one of the top courts in Finland judging this case. Yeah, there's so much going on, isn't there? Such pressure going on. Just standing up for being a Christian. Abraham, can you imagine, in the middle of all this going on? And we often are like that. We feel, I don't know about you, do you feel battered at times? You feel just pushed here and there, you feel like you're risk losing something precious? I'm sure we do. That's the situation we find ourselves, and it seems so appropriate what Abraham went through. But verse 13, a notice. Abraham, where was he? He was in the midst of all this chaos. Where was he? He was by the trees of Mamre. And Mamre means, it's from a root word also, seeing. Often he met with the Lord by a tree. At the tree of Moriah chapter also has that Ra, seeing there. The Lord appeared to him and said, you're going to have this land. It's a place of communion, that's basically what it is. It's a symbol of life, as I said, the tree of life. It's a place where God speaks his encouragement. And so he was there. It's under this tree, but it's a symbol. He was in communion with God. In the midst of all this chaos, he was in communion with God. He was receiving the life of God into his heart. And so therefore, he must have heard the call. Well, he heard Lot's been taken, go out and fight. And so what's it say? Verse 14, he called out 313 trained men, and they went after them. From this place of rest, he sensed God's call to go and to fight. He couldn't rescue or solve everything, but he could do something, and he went for it. Yeah, so this is a good moment. He called out these men. Literally, it means he unsheathed these men. It's like taking out a sword. I'm going to play a little clip Forgive me. It's from Lord of the Rings, and some of you will love it. Some of you will not like it so much. So, little complicated with the names, but it's the giving of a sword. It's the receiving of identity in the midst of a desperate war. So, if it's possible, we'll see if this works. And thank you.
I take my leave.
My Lord Elrond, I come on behalf of one whom I love. Arwen is dying. She will not long survive the evil that now spreads from Mordor. The light of the even star is failing. As Sauron's power grows, her strength wanes. Arwen's life is now tied to the fate of the ring. The shadow is upon us, Aragorn. The end has come.
It will not be our end, but his.
You ride to war, but not to victory. Sauron's armies march on Minas Tirith, as you know, but in secret he sends another force which will attack from the river. A fleet of corsair ships sails from the south. They'll be in the city in 2 days. You're outnumbered, Aragorn. You need more men.
There are none.
There are those who dwell in the mountain.
Murderers. Traitors. You would call upon them to fight. They believe in nothing. They answer to no one.
They will answer to the King of Gondor. Andúril, the flame of the West, forged from the shards of Narsil.
Sauron will not have forgotten the sword of Elendil. The blade that was broken shall return to Minas Tirith.
It's the moment when Aragorn, hiding in the darkness, takes his identity as king and will ride out to fight against Sauron, who represents the evil one. I just so happen to have the very sword. And I believe it's significant. Abraham unsheathed his men and went and fought. And it says immediately after that he met Melchizedek. Yeah? The king of Melchizedek means the king of righteousness. He was the one who represented the Lord. He was the one, as the Bible says, from Salem, the king of peace. He brings out bread and wine. He blesses Abraham by the God Most High. And he says he is the one who delivers you from your enemies. And Abraham was able to say to the king of Sodom, who wanted to sneakily get a little bit of a hook in him, no, I will receive nothing from you. I'm just receiving from God. And so he gave a tenth, which means, what's a tenth mean? It means giving everything I have, to the Lord. It's It's a picture of Abraham knowing his identity. That's what the unsheathing the sword represents. So I don't know about you. Do you feel squeezed in at times in the battle, culture wars, or other things going on in your life? Well, the Lord invites you, and he invites me, to put, just like Abraham, a stake in the ground. Yeah, from this I'm not moving. He is my anchor. He is my rock. He is my security. I am secure in him. And Abraham was at that place of rest. That's where he went out. He was in the place of Mamre. He met Melchizedek, the prototype of Jesus, really, who was at the right hand of the Father, the one who shows him that there is a way, a truth, the truth actually, and the life. It's the King of Kings, who gives bread and wine, who feeds us. We have communion regularly here. It symbolizes all that the Lord wants to give us. It's the King who blesses you, blesses his people, the creator of heaven and earth. So what could be greater than that? Yeah. Never mind the forces at war against us. We are on the side of the creator of heaven and earth. What could be greater than that, people of God? And, and he is the one that blesses us. He blesses you, as we've heard words and during the worship time. He blesses you. And we can bless him in the language of those words there. And he's the one who delivers us. Delivers us from fear and from hopelessness and despair in the midst of everything. And he is the one to whom we give, figuratively, the 10th. Yes, we give our tithes, but that's a symbol of, well, everything actually belongs to you. It's not just a tithe. Here I am, Lord, hineni, in the Hebrew word. And he calls us to fight for what is precious to the Lord, precious to us and precious to the Lord. Yeah, hence the sword. Right, we're not called to actually go down the road with this. I borrowed it from a lovely neighbour down the road, and I thought I better not actually walk down the road with this. I might get arrested. So I took the car. So we're not called to fight, obviously, with metal, but we are called. Our fight isn't against flesh and blood. It's against the principalities and powers of darkness. And we're invited to put the armor of God on. So what is our battle? In Ephesians 6, verse 18, it says, pray in the Spirit on all occasions with all kinds of prayers and requests. Be alert, praying for all the saints, all the people of God, and beyond. For God's house, primarily, it's what the church should be, and what we should be as people of God, is a house of prayer. Yeah, we are called to fight for that which is precious to the Lord, and principally in prayer. And then if he calls us to go and do some deed, then he calls us to be brave. 1 Timothy 6, verse 12, it says, fight the good fight of faith. That's what we're called to do. Fight the good fight of faith with the stake in the ground. I am the Lord's. He is the one. He's the creator of heaven and earth. Battles may rage around me, but I am the Lord's. And I'm going to serve him, no matter what anyone else says. Fight the good fight of faith, it says. Take hold of eternal life, to which you are called. And one more verse from Revelation chapter 3, verse 11. It says, I am coming soon. Hold on to what you have, so that no one will take away your crown. So do you know that the Lord, well, how does he see you? With a crown. Yeah, hold on to that, your faith to the end. You will receive a crown. In fact, you have a crown. You belong to the Lord's, and he sees you. So be strong, and be bold, and be encouraged in the Lord. And that's the testimony of the saints through many vicious and terrible battles, even of persecution. Be strong in the Lord, for hold on, and he will give you the crown. So what's the word from this message this morning? I believe, firstly, there's just a couple of things. The Lord wants to renew you, maybe restore you. Maybe you've been dragged by this king or that king, and you need to come back, Lord, to this place, Melchizedek, the one who gives me bread and wine, who forgives me, who gives me life, who blesses me. Need to come back this morning? Need to come back? The Lord welcomes you. He's forgiving and merciful, and we can come back and receive his forgiveness. Maybe that's for some of you. For some, I just believe the Lord wants to encourage you that you have been through the battle, you have had wounds through it, but they become, as it were, we talked about it with someone recently, our medals. There's a beautiful, do you want to put it up please, Esther? A song by an old song of Delirious. It says this, slightly unusual words, but when all around has fallen. Yeah. When all around has fallen, your castle has been burned. You used to be a king here, but now no one knows your name. I know you live your life for honor, defender of the faith. You've been crushed to pieces, and no one knows your pain. What's the Lord say? Come, come, lay your weary head. Be still, my friend. Come, rise. I'll place my sword upon your shoulder. Come, rise with me. When tomorrow has been stolen and you can't lift your head and summer feels like winter, your heart is full of stone. Though all your hopes have fallen, your skin is now your only armor. Oh, wear your scars like medals, defender of the faith. Oh, come, come, lay your weary head. Be still, my friend. Come, rise. I'll place my sword upon your shoulder. Come, come, lay your faithful head. Be still, my friend. Come, rise with me. And I remember a very difficult point when we were in the mission field abroad, and really being ministered to that by those words, your scars are like medals. And that picture of the sword on the shoulder, on the right and then the left. Don't worry, Denise, I'm not going to come too close. But I just sense that the Lord wants you to know that's what he's doing with you this morning. I know the battles you've been through. It might seem hopeless, and you might want to give up, but don't give up. I'm right here before you, and I put the sword on your right and on your left, and I say, come, rise with me, my beautiful son, my beautiful daughter, my prince, my princess, and receive that crown on your head. Just let the Lord minister to you. And just the third thing, maybe as we are in a place of rest, maybe there's something precious the Lord wants us to go and get in prayer to start with, and then whatever else he calls us to do. So Lord, thank you. This old episode in Abraham's life, but we also find ourselves in battles, and your people find themselves in battles. But you want to come and encourage, Lord, where there's weariness and we feel in pieces, Lord. You say, come. Lay your weary head. Be still, my friend. I'll place my sword upon your shoulder. Lay your faithful head. Be still, my friend. Come. Rise with me. Receive God's grace on your life this morning.